person have a question, or before we ask our primary people from the tree commission? Yes, okay, Sandy.
Just my preliminary comments regarding the proposed ordinance. I just think it's too onerous, too expensive. It controls not only shade of public trees on public property, but also private property. I'm a tree hugger. I've worked on shade tree commissions. I'm all for a shade tree ordinance, but not this one. This one puts the authority of the borough engineer for all trees on private property. So that, and it brings under the borough engineer's jurisdiction all trees on private property that are greater than 4 inches in diameter. That's about, maybe a little bigger than this cup, 4 inches. So I can imagine how expensive that would be if I want to chop down a little tree in my backyard that's too close to my house, that's about this big. And I have to make an application, get the borough engineer involved who's going to build a town, file a site plan application, and then file a tree replacement plan, and to go through all of this just to take down that tree. I think there's a better way to do it. I don't think that we have a DPW that have tree guys that are probably arborists, that our own DPW can look at a tree and say, yeah, that tree is diseased or dying, it should come down. Rather than getting the borough engineer involved. What does the borough engineer know about forestry? I don't think he really
Well,
knows.
we agree with you there. There are changes to this ordinance that were not changed. So the ordinance that you're looking at did not incorporate the changes that we would like. So we agree with you. And I even mentioned to Bob Costa, he does not want that responsibility, nor does he have the education.
Right.
Okay.
Now, and
Thank you, Sandy.
And we also mentioned that we don't want anything to do with private property either.
You just want to deal with public property?
Yes.
Okay, well, so Sam, can you read that?
Yeah.
So that we only deal with public
Did we
property?
have this discussion?
Okay.
Did we keep going 4 weeks ago?
Yes, we did.
If there's a few things you want to add.
All right, you want to add something, but right now, are we said that you are only dealing with public property?
We're working in circles. We've been up maybe three or four
times, yes.
And it went to where we just wanted private trees in this, and it was suggested that we put private trees. We put private trees, then they would just want public trees. I think we just need to hear from council what you want us to do, because we just wanted to make a simple ordinance for public trees. We were told to put the private trees into it, so we put the private trees into it, and then we were told to put it on the borough engineer, so we put it on the borough engineer. We're getting
Who told you those things?
We've had this discussion before. Yeah, we had.
But I don't ever remember telling you that anybody said to put it
Yeah,
on
I
the
agreed.
borough
I remember this
engineer.
conversation.
He likes to look at trees,
suggested
but
the
I
last
don't think he
time.
knows.
We did go through.
Okay.
Okay.
But whatever you want now, we'll move forward. That's fine. Whatever the
Okay.
council wants.
Okay,
we'll
would
go
you like
with
to
that.
make a motion that we just deal with public trees? You want to discuss
Yes,
it?
no, I don't want to discuss it. What I want is, and again, I don't know, we got a new draft of this, Sam circulated this.
Right.
It was still huge, and it didn't seem to me to take in any of the things that so I don't know where the breakdown is between the communication, what you guys want, what we're kind of on board with, and getting an ordinance written. But it seems to be a disconnect.
Yes.
There's no one up here, it seems, that's interested in private trees. We understand a logic behind an ordinance that protects public trees and your expertise in that area and not others. And it seems to me that there's a 1-page ordinance out there that could be written, but not a 10-page ordinance. So what I don't know is how does that get done? And maybe Sam, can weigh in on, let's just simplify this and we don't have to keep.
John, thank you. Let's see what else they wanted to have included, and then we can.
So let me just ask the question here, because actually I put in everything pretty much that you would want in the ordinance. They gave me different other ordinances. I tried to incorporate most of that in there. So that private trees now will be eliminated from any regulation. Am I correct?
I think you have to ask the council. We would like to see that as an ordinance because it would make it complete. A lot of times to do it, but if the council's not for it, then obviously we won't do that. That's not something we would push for. It would be nice. And there are good reasons that I think we've described before. We don't have to go into that.
You can make it very simple. I mean, you don't have to charge a lot of money. If someone takes down a tree, they have an option of either replacing that tree or paying a fee in lieu of that
No,
tree.
no one up here said we want that.
Yeah, but
No one
that's
else, I'm wondering
not-
where you're getting that. You're writing
Yes.
these things in ordinances that we are not promoting. No one up here said that they're on board with that. So
Okay, John.
that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, all right.
Private trees are out.
Private trees are out.
Okay.
Private property is private property.
That's fine.
Okay, so
Okay,
No one said that last time, so I'm not sure where, that's fine.
okay, you're right, it was half and half, not even half and half,
It
there was
was
some
nothing, we
comment.
had no.
It wasn't a clear cut.
Nobody said.
Right, don't do it.
Who do you want to give jurisdiction to with reference to the regulation of these trees?
The street trees?
Yes,
Well, the shade tree, I mean, I just brought, I don't know if everyone knows what we do, but between DPW and us, this is 2.5 months worth of work orders that we do with the DPW. We already do this. So to change the system just for the construction would be silly, we should keep the same system that we use.
Okay, so
Yeah,
the Shade Tree
trees.
Commission has the exclusive jurisdiction to monitor and
Yeah.
regulate trees in the public sector. How do you want to handle fees and jurisdiction over fees?
Well, it was different because there was gonna be a 25, wait, now it's different because now it's private.
Yes.
But for the bond, a lot of this all goes back to construction. So if they have to put up a bond, it would not go in our escrow trust account. I'm assuming there's a different account here where you would keep the bonds. If we went back and the tree did die, then the money does get then transferred into our trust account, which we already have established. And that's where we needed to get a bit more clarity, I think, with Alan, regarding the bond. Well, I might add one question also, because the violation, if they didn't do it, was $1,000. So my question is, if somebody came in, a construction guy, and took down, 3 trees, the violation is just $1,000, with, I think, 30 days maybe imprisonment.
I think we have a bond requirement that is like $5,000.
no, we're just talking public trees.
guys,
This is just,
Yeah, exactly.
right, but I'm just talking,
Just public.
just
now.
public.
Exactly.
The main
Private's
thing,
out.
no,
and just to recap everything, the main reason why we're doing this is because we're losing a ton of trees with construction.
Agreed.
So that's really the main premise of this.
And we have no budget, and this would give us an income. It's like a business.
Right.
Someone's taking down trees or killing a tree, we get an income from it, and
Well,
we're self-sustaining.
so in construction, people, any kind of developer or any person comes and destroys any borough tree, they have to have a bond, first of all. Then the money will be taken from the bond to replace the
If
tree.
someone comes into town and destroys a tree for any reason, we already have an ordinance that
Right.
says you can't do that. So
That's right,
that-
sometimes people hit a tree and knock it down.
So you take them to
Correct.
court or you settle for
Right.
that. So I think it'll be the same system, we don't want to recreate that.
Right, okay.
We just want to make a system where if there's construction, we get the plans, we evaluate the tree for its worth, they give an amount no more than $5,000 to a bond, to you.
Right.
Written to you.
To Denise, right?
And then we check it after a year, and if the tree is unhealthy or needs to be removed, we get the money put into our escrow account. That's what we think happens, I'm not sure if that's
Okay,
how that.
I'm not sure how that goes either. Okay, Johnny? And then Alpha.
Because this was my question from last time also, so if we can get it in there somehow or somehow explain it, but my question was about the construction, so if there's a public tree on my property, I get my sidewalk done, sidewalk costs about, I don't know, $3,000-$4,000, now I have to put up a bond for how much?
No,
Because there could be something, okay,
that
but
wouldn't go, because that's not for construction through the planning board, so what usually happens is
but I go
those
get
we
it,
go out and
okay,
look.
so that's what I want to be in there, specifically which, is it anything that goes to planning board, is it, we have to kind of come up with some kind of parameter to say, okay, these permits or whatever will be, subject to this bond, and other ones will not, but that has to be in there, so this way people know, because I wouldn't want to put up a $5,000 bond for 2 years for a $3,000 sidewalk,
Right.
so, I mean, we really have to be specific.
A lot of
as
this
to
would
what
not appear
construction-
before the planning board, though. I mean, this would not limit, whatever, let's say.
I don't know, that's what I'm saying, how is this going to be regulated? That's what
I
I
think the concern is that a lot of these trees get lost in construction. I mean, the planning board may not even have any part to it, because, most of these homes are being built as a matter of right. So it's not going before any board, and there's no application or environmental application being submitted before a local board, be it zoning board or planning board.
So where would the jurisdiction be?
Well, this is the issue, okay? So this is the issue. You have to give me guidance on this.
Okay, So Alphonse, then Paul, then
So,
John.
like, take your example, it's a good example, let's say you do replace the sidewalk, and in the process of replacing the sidewalk, you may damage the roots and kill a tree. So what do we do with you?
Maybe in jail.
Okay.
Where's the chief?
Alphonse, you like,
I mean,
Alphonse,
The issue here, we're talking about after the fact, after the construction's done, whether the tree lives or dies. What we're still not addressing, and I don't know if it can be addressed, is protections to put in place while the construction's ongoing, so that the soil doesn't get compacted and the tree doesn't get damaged in the first place. Because even though the trees you plant are very nice, it's gonna take 50 years before, 60 years before it's back to where the tree that was there beforehand.
Well, we've talked about that a lot also, and we know in our town, we have very small frontage. A lot of times, they're going right over where all the root bases are anyway. So even if we put a barrier around our tree, they still need to do construction within that area.
So there's nothing we can do.
at the
And
time.
we could give them instructions on how to protect it so that they make an attempt to protect it. But again, how are we gonna know if they're doing construction if they don't have to go through zoning or planning? That's,
Well, they have to go.
well, they have to get a permit, I think, to the sidewalk. So there has to be a permit down.
I think the triggering event has to be actually an application for a building permit. So if you're going to replace your sidewalk,
Right.
as an example, or you're gonna build an addition in the back of your house, and you made an application for a permit, I think at that point, you have to really submit a tree plan at a tree application plan with the building department, I would think. And then that may have to be reviewed by the Shade Tree Commission if you want them to, you want oversight of that development in terms of the preservation of those trees. And then I think you have to waive the bond. For example, what if you have 3 trees in front of your house and you decide to put an addition on the back? Do we require a bond in that situation, where they would have to put up a bond to protect those 3 trees?
Well, I guess it would depend upon what the access of the developer would be, or of the construction of the person, if whether they would be driving their trucks over the area where these trees would be located, or whether the 3 trees were located in an area that would not require, would not be damaged at all by any of the construction.
I think the problem is that you have to have total supervision over the project.
Right.
It's almost impossible. The placement of the bond is necessary, I guess, to preserve the tree. I'm not sure a $5,000 bond is the right number. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that number was thrown out there because there are a number of ordinances that do have very substantial bond requirements. I think this one was taken either from Paramus or wherever. But, I really would probably need a little more direction on this. I mean, what I can see here is that I would think that if you wanted to regulate the public tree sector, you would have to tie it into any building permit that comes into the town. So whether you're replacing a sidewalk like in John's situation, or you're building a new house, let's say on Fifth Avenue somewhere, I think what you have to do is at that point an application has to be submitted and the bond would have to be posted, because there's no guarantee as to how that job site's going to be run. And the problem is that generally the effect or the after effect is that you have a loss of a tree. So maybe you do put up a bond, a cash bond. Are we comfortable with $5,000? Is that
well, it's
too
up
much
to
money?
5,000, so it
Okay,
could be less.
Okay,
It'll
so what would
depend on
dictate?
the value of the tree.
Well, most of the street trees are pretty well grown. I mean, they're developed trees, so, I mean, do we do this based on a caliper?
It's based on the ISA, if that's in here, it's based on an ISA, so it's a caliber, and then there's a whole form with the percentage that it's worth, and the type of tree it's worth, and we do that already.
You do
We
that?
already use that system.
My thinking is to let the Shade Tree Commission take that responsibility. I mean, what I would do is submit the application, any application for a building permit, because it's the only way you're gonna pick this stuff up. You're not gonna pick it up any other way. It's not gonna be done by the zoning board, it's not gonna be done by the planning board, because typically, most of the development that you're seeing in town are people that are getting building permits as a matter of right. They're not going before boards because of setback requirements, height, et cetera. So maybe what we do is that we just base it on any permit applications, and an application for our street trees.
Right.
And then the Shade Tree Commission will review it and then make a determination of the amount of the bond that's required.
Okay.
Is it legal to exclude sidewalk from this list?
I think most of it, that's probably your biggest risk. I mean, you get a lot of
Yeah, I was
sidewalks.
gonna say,
Excuse me, John.
thank you.
think that's your biggest risk, I think, is
I'll say that.
maybe what I should do is try to draft something and sit with the Shade Tree Commission.
I think that would be a good idea,
Rather
but
than come here and.
It's really fuzzy.
I've incorporated everything in there because I got a lot of ordinances from the Shade Tree. I have no problem with it, but I think maybe since we have a set consensus here that we're just trying to focus on street trees, and we want the Shade Tree Commission to take jurisdiction of that.
right.
Maybe we can take a look at this and maybe meet and sit down and go through it and just pare it down so that it becomes a little more manageable for everybody.
The other thing is, Liz, that, and I'm coming right to you, Paul, because I know you've had your hand up several
That's right.
times. Many times you have people who want to have they have lifted sidewalks, and they ask if they can have the roots cut. They get the roots cut, all right, and then the tree falls down. So, I mean, you need to have some kind of a balance.
Well, we evaluated before. A lot of people call even though they don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think Denise gets a lot of them and refers them. So we go out and we take a look before, and we said the tree's pretty stable. Go ahead and fix the sidewalk. We'll come back and evaluate
Right.
after. Or if it looks unstable before, where we probably
Right,
think about
right.
taking it down anyway,
Right.
sometimes we'll take them down before.
I know
And we don't
because
hold them responsible.
we had an incident a few years ago because the person could not get insurance. And he did go before the shade tree. They said, okay, you can cut the roots. And he was really very upset about having to cut the roots. But I guess within 2 years, the tree just did
I think you can
not-
also evaluate the dollar amount, because let's face it, in most instances where you have a root problem, we have a sidewalk problem, you have a mature tree. It's generally a very large tree with a very substantial girth. So that maybe what you do is evaluate that. If the homeowner's gonna do it, maybe they pay like $250 for a replacement tree as opposed to putting up $5,000 to replace a mature tree. I mean, and no one's gonna replace their sidewalk.
Right, all right, Paul?
Well, I mean, the situation I had with my own company, with Kenwood, we had emergency water main break, a sewer main break, tree was right in the way. Now, the question I had, if you're looking to take a $5,000 bond on that tree, I mean, is that for every contractor that's out there? Because,
It's an emergency, and you called us to go out
Yeah.
and look, and Charlie went out to look.
no, I know that, I'm just saying, because I know you guys, you get some of the guy there who's doing a sewer main, he would just clip the tree and walk away.
Sewer and things like that, again, PSCG sidewalks, you don't really get to, we don't say, no, you can't do it, because they're already mad they have to replace the sidewalk, they're already mad they have an emergency, so we try to work with people with those things. I don't think we want to restrict it, and it's true, trees will die when you cut the roots for the sidewalk, or they'll fall over, but they're already mad that they have to replace the sidewalk because the tree caused the sidewalk to raise. So you're just making someone angry about trees. So those things, I don't think we want to make people angry. I think we want to target the construction people that are making a profit in our town and get something back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because you're gonna scoop the small guy in there, and he's
No,
gonna be like, I just
yeah.
did the water.
No,
Yeah.
and that's too much work for us too. We'd like to target construction. I know that's not, I know you have to target everybody to do this, but the practical on the street when we do it, would be
Well,
the construction.
I think
Make a
then what
suggestion,
we ought to.
maybe sit with the
All right,
Shade
I
Tree
would-
Commission.
yes.
I think what we'll do is sit with you.
Okay.
And then this way maybe go over the ordinance, having heard all these comments, and then try to.
Okay, all right,
I just
Sean,
wanna
you want to make a comment?
Well, yeah, just on the sidewalks and that, I think it's, but I think you should be included in sidewalk replacement that affects trees, tree roots, but without the bond requirement, because again, that's, you don't want it to deter people, but I would, like, if I'm gonna replace a sidewalk of mine that was lifted from roots, I think I should be required to have you come out and look at it, and at least advise the right way to do it that would save the tree,
Right.
but again, not without perhaps the bond requirement.
All
I
right.
think I needed that.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay. I want to thank you very much for coming up, and you're going to get together with Sam.
Yeah,
Yes, and of course you can ask your question. Go
Before a
ahead.
few times, is this what everyone agrees on? Because I don't want to put more work in and just have everyone in a month say, I don't like this.
No, it sounds good.
I don't like the $5,000 number.
It's up to $5,000.
Okay.
So if
Enough.
this tree is worth, we're gonna do an assessment, I can show you what that is too.
But even if it's a huge tree,
Yeah.
like a $5,000 tree.
A huge
with
tree
with a
is worth
small
like
project-
17,000.
Okay, but even with a small project like a sidewalk, I wouldn't feel
Right, so-
comfortable asking you. So
So sidewalk.
that's why I'm saying, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable approving something like that, because then I don't think the homeowner would want to put up 5,000. And the contractor's definitely not gonna put up $5,000 for 2 years for a $3,000 job. So I think those people are gonna have trouble doing it. So I don't know if you wanna do like a I don't know, I'll leave it up to you guys to kind of, but I would definitely be opposed to that.
To the
I don't know how we tie that in, I'm not sure.
It's gotta be 5,000, because if you're thinking money with the town, it cost John his labor to take the tree down for us. So someone killed our tree. It costs the town labor to go out and take it down, plus it's a hazard to even go up and work on trees, so you're putting them at risk once again. It costs, what is it, 200 or 400 for a dumpster to get rid of the logs? It costs money.
$500.
So here we're putting out like thousands of dollars to take a tree down that someone killed, and we're not asking them for anything, plus we have no budget to replace it. So 5,000 is reasonable, actually.
It's up to.
If they kill a public
You know what?
tree,
It's gonna be.
And
killing a public
and
tree,
it may
it's
not
not
be
private
that much.
trees, that's where I'm coming from.
It may not be that much, that's the most it could be. Most trees that are older are worth 10,000 or more, so we're making 5,000 a limit, because we don't want to, it's unreasonable to ask for 10,000.
I think
So
that
5,000.
we're going to have Sam work with Liz and with Jennifer on this, and then they will bring something back, and then we will see where we go. Okay?
Just,
Last comment.
thank you. I think what you can draft in there is some language to the effect that if shade tree, and this will apply probably to sidewalks more than anything, if shade tree goes out before the project begins and gives prior authorization to cut the root, to do the sidewalk repair, there would be no need to post a bond, as you've already got prior authorization to cut the root. So, and you know the consequence that could